I believe we had a sign-up sheet out front, so we know in what order we want to take testimony.
Jamie, welcome to the committee, and you may proceed.
Hi, thank you. Jamie Bova. I'm on the Newport City Council, and I have some questions that came up out of tonight, but also just in general. One of my main questions just really regards public outreach and public input, because I know that thus far, this is the only meeting that's been scheduled on the island. And I am curious as to what the plan is for future meetings locally, as well as just overall more strategic efforts to get public input, because I think that with this meeting, it wasn't advertised until pretty close to when this meeting was scheduled. So that was kind of tough for folks. But in general, you know, it's a very island-specific problem, but people from the island aren't going to go to Providence to give input. And I want to, you know, you can say they should, but they're not going to. And I just want to make sure that there's going to be future meetings for them to give input, both during this part of the process, but also once the maps are at least drafted, so there can be input on the actual drafted maps themselves.
Well, so let me respond this way, Jamie. It's a very sincere question. Thanks, because we're at this stage getting out to the corners of the state as best we can, the north, the central, and the south, and then as far as we can, the island areas. We'll go to Bristol, and this is the first round. We're going to go through October doing this. Then we'll go back to the State House. We'll regroup. We'll go over the data, and then we're coming out for a second round, and there'll be more areas that we go to. We're trying to meet as often as we can, 2 days a week on it as we move forward from now, and we're going to do our best to try to reach everybody we can. So your question has merit, and we really appreciate it. Rep, I know you wanted to.
Yeah, I would just wanted to add that, Jamie, nice seeing you again. I met you when the St. Patrick's Day parades and that, so. As the chairman said, it's first round. We may not be at CCRI in Newport. The second round, we may go to like Tiverton or Portsmouth or Middletown to try and grasp as many, because some people may not be able to make it tonight, but maybe in November or early December, they may be able to make it. The other thing that is what Kim had said on the website. They can ask the questions on the website and get a reply from either one of the commissioners, if that's what it's directed to, or Mr. Brace himself, or the gentlemen and ladies that are working with him to draw these maps. After the first round, we are going to draw preliminary maps to see what shifts we have to make, but they're only preliminary. They're not going to be finalized until after the second round of outreach is going to be. So there should be ample time, and if they want to come to a different meeting, I guess we can, because it's a public meeting. If you're from Newport, they want to come all the way up to the center of Providence or something and give some input, so be it. They can do that.
Okay, that's great.
Hope
Thank
we
you.
answered your question.
Yeah, and I actually just had just a couple more. How are you engaging or working with the local boards of canvassers?
So the information that we're putting out on the website is designed to give people public notice and then to let them get their input. And as I said, when we regroup, certainly we're going to take into consideration the local board of canvassers. I don't know if Kim wants to amplify on that.
Yeah,
Kim?
we have worked with an awful lot of the board of canvassers, and we're certainly encouraging them to come to these kind of meetings and talk to us. Tell us in terms of the needs or the concerns that you as the board of canvassers have in terms of any aspect of the redistricting process, so that we can hear that. I've been trying to encourage town clerks and the boards to come and talk to us in terms of the problems that you have when there are small pockets of people, and because of the different lines that are there. That is one of the goals that we've always tried to do over the decades, is try to eliminate the small pockets caused by multiple sets of geography. Sometimes, unfortunately, those are not governed by what we draw at the state level, but are governed by maybe the towns and how the wards are that they have. So we've been trying to talk to the towns and say, wait until you see what the state does first, before you go in to draw your wards and your individual districts, so that you don't create the pockets that you so fear.
Is there any, anywhere that we could get information that kind of discusses that type of issue more in depth, so that we can make sure that both like the councils and the boards of canvassers locally have that? I'm just concerned about it being like that there's no formal process for input and it's more voluntary. I don't want anything to get missed.
We're actually very happy to come and speak to the towns, to their council. You know, we're happy to do that. We just need to look at the schedule that we have and on all that. But yeah, I've spoken to many of the town councils in past decades.
Okay,
So we're
great.
happy to do that.
Thank you so much. And then my last question is really, you know, there was a lot of time talking about the communities of interest and how residents can input them and tell the individual unique communities of interest in neighborhoods. What happens with that? You know, how do you use that information to form the end districts?
So,
It partly is a function of how big you're defining the communities of interest. Let me tell you a story. We're doing the state of Michigan right now in terms of their redistricting. They have a website for people to be able to put in communities of interest, but they had a real broad concept of communities of interest, so much so that they've got stuff all over the place, and it's pretty hard to keep track of where things are. They've submitted so far as of yesterday like about 1,800 communities of interest. And you talk about spaghetti, when you look at those on a map, that's what you end up getting. But sometimes there's some clues that are in there, and so we try to look at those as much as possible. We're trying to, in this instance in Rhode Island, talk to us about smaller territories. You know, I know you're concerned about your town, but we know where those town boundaries are. You know, you can text us, you don't have to draw your town boundaries, but we're interested in the smaller pieces from your perspective.
and just so you know, Jamie, that first couple of meetings we've had, that question has come up over and over. All of us have asked Kim, you know, how do
Yeah.
you define communities of interest, and how do you work it? And we've had a host of questions on that, so you're spot on with that question. It seems to me it's fluid. We need input, and then you assess that input relative to these districts, right?
Right. And we'll be able to use those as overlays on the plans.
Okay.
So that we can see, you know, if we're seeing some different concepts of a particular community, you know, we can overlay those and see where there might be conflicts. And when we go back out, we'll try to ask people, give us, you know, we're seeing all this differences here. How much of it is real, or what is, you know, what's the perception here?
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for taking my questions and for making the trek down to Newport, and I look forward to the future meetings.
And just for one last, and thinking of communities of interest, all right, next weekend is Woonsocket's 43rd Annual Autumn Fest. And if we wanted to include that as a community of interest, that would encompass all of northern Rhode Island. It wouldn't just be Woonsocket, it would be
Yeah.
Cumberland, North Smithfield, Lincoln, all of them, because everybody likes to come to that. So that's too big of a community of interest, so we can't really look at that and say, we're going to try and encompass that into our divisions.
Yes,
Just
I mean,
way
the
too
way
massive.
that I've thought about it from the explanations given is it's almost, okay, we get one down from, you know, the census blocks or whatever, into the neighborhoods and the communities that are within those neighborhoods.
Yes, very much so. That's that. I agree
Good.
with that.
Glad I'm getting it right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.